This is optional. If you feel your kids need that to have some of the vocabulary, maybe they're struggling with the writing, maybe you're going to have a really low class and they need a word wall, by all means, okay? I just put this up here as an example, okay? We're going to go over the assessments, the fluency, the reading, and the writing, and Teresa's going to do that with you. And then we'll do our model lessons. And then this is the end, but I really like this guy, this cute little guy here. It's how people install new software into their brains by reading. So anyway, that's the end of that. So we'll have those two things to do, and then we'll be done, okay?
All right, the assessments. You know that the first read is for fluency. So the very first day they come in and they have that cold read, if they read 25, that's your pre-assessment for fluency. And then the very last day, you'll have a completely different passage. They've practiced it, so it's a hot read now. It's been practiced. Whatever they get there, they get 50. So what did I say the first one was? 25? They subtract, they gain 25 words. So that's fluency. That's the first assessment.
So there'll be different passages, and that's okay.
That's okay, because we're talking about, by then we'll have practiced. So the whole idea is after practicing, how is their fluency? And again, you'll have to decide whether it's going to be words correct per minute. You decide. The electricity is called pre. It's going to be the same test. You'll just change this to post. There are 10 questions, and it's multiple choice. Okay, so even if you wanted to, let's say, save on paper, I'm big about saving paper, show it on the screen, have them write on a piece of paper, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10. And I think, usually, Phil has a spreadsheet for you already, so you just put in the scores. I wouldn't give them all the assessments at one sitting. They won't come back. Come back and give them, the fluency is a given. It's there. The science test, give them before you start reading the science passage, the electricity, 10 questions. And you decide again, are you going to read those to them and all they're going to do is write down A, B, C, D, or is it going to be a reading test? Because they're not easy for some of our first, second, third. They're not familiar with some of these words yet. So you may say, just like on some of the old science tests, I will read the question twice and your choice is twice, and that's it. You decide. So again, make that decision at your district, but 10. So this is a pre and post. So you'll give it the first day, and maybe the second to the last day or the last day, whatever because somebody has to grade it. So. And I'm not giving you the answers. You'll have to figure it out. No, I have the answers now. The pre-writing assessment.
You get to take the first test.
Right.
Just kidding.
The pre-writing assessment, again, before we start any discussion on what informative writing is, what is informative writing? 2 points. First point is, did they answer in a complete sentence? 2, did they give you correct information? So 2 points. So if it was a complete sentence, y más o menos, give them 1 point. But no, más o menos, more or less. Sorry. What are the components and purpose of informative writing? Again, what are the components? Components, more than one. Facts, who, or not who,
Topic.
what, topic, sentence, conclusion. When would you use informative writing? To write a book report, or a state report?
A biography.
Biography. Here's where resource teachers are going to have to figure out which grade is using which level text. Because they're going to read a paragraph, and again, this indicates the grade level. If you know your grade level isn't this one, you just take it out. So before they get the test. This needs to be individualized for that grade level. So you might want to have that conversation before school starts. Now once school starts, they can change from the circle to the square to the diamond to the whatever, but make sure they have the same pre and post test. So that's the same. Okay.
This is going to be all available to us on the district.
Right, it's all there. I'm going to write exactly what you have. Right. So if this test is for a group of kids who are using the square, I'm going to take all of this out. And I'm going to take out all the ones for the star. And they're just going to read that and then read the passage below and use evidence from the passage to define electricity. That's it. Okay? I'm not going to save it. And then the post-test is the same exact thing. Same thing. So when you run off the pre-test, run it off, then run it off again and just put post. But make sure you know that his class is all the circles, her class is all the square. Not you guys, but the papers are the circle, the square, so you have it set. Otherwise, at the end, if you give them the wrong one, then are you assessing writing or reading? Okay. And then Phil's working on the math one because I know she had issues last year. It's going to be like the one we used last year, but without the errors. Apparently, there were errors. She did that one. Oh, don't show her this. Okay. So anyway, she's working on the math one, and it'll be multiple choice as well. Questions on the assessment. Okay, I did count the poems. There are 12 right now. But again, I think the power of the poems is have the students come up with their own, their Bill Nye. Now you come up with the scenario where you're an experiment, and you demo to the class, get a lab coat or chaleco or something, and have them be Bill Nye, and they can wear the Bill Nye and your electricity, and I'm a magnet or whatever. Have them come up with the play. Memorizing, that's a skill. They need that skill. But how valuable is that when they create it and they put it on? I was impressed last year with all of you, but there was one group that there was a contest. Remember who had the best play at the end? That was so cute. They had props and everything.
I don't remember who it
It
was,
was nice.
but there was a district that did that, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, any questions on the assessment? So fluency, writing, content, and math. And you might want to spread it out. Maybe math will be the second day. Because again, if you give them all 4 tests in one day, they're not coming back. I wouldn't.
I wouldn't either.
I don't care what you give me. I'm 4 tests, coming back. Okay, any questions on assessments? Okay, I'm going to walk you through that lesson that we talked about. So I've got, let me pull up the lesson. You have it in front of you. Let's look at a day.
Your lesson plan?
The blank one that I gave you that has the... Okay, so any questions on fluency? We're just going to wrap it up and then kind of go over. Okay, the first lesson then is going to be the essential question, how is electricity created? And we go in, and I'm going to, as a teacher, I'm going to look at what are my resources. Page 35. Let's get this bigger here. So I know that in this lesson, we're going to be looking at this content standard, some of this vocabulary. It's already spelled out for me. This is background information for me. So if I get, I'm going to pick on PE teachers. Any PE teachers here? Okay, the PE teachers who never teach, right? They just go run. Shh, don't tell them I said that.
On the vocabulary, on this one, for my lesson, there was only 2 words. So can I make this into 4? Like there's 4 words there. Okay? You can do this, just cut it more. Okay? Or make it longer.
Yeah, and
Right.
I do the same thing. They have vocabulary here, and they're foldable. It could be anything. It could be cards. They just have cards. And they could play slap with them, or the concentration games. So all those games that we use, if you're not familiar with this, let me know. Don't go out and say, she told me slap the kids. It's a game. It's a game. So all of this is background information, again, for the teacher. Page 36, again, background information. So again, we have teachers that don't teach science, because that's not their thing. I mean, they don't have to. What are the parts of the atom? And then you have additional vocabulary you might talk about. It gives you some warnings. Don't touch the bare wires. Little things that if you've never done it.
I need that information.
Right. Don't have them climb on the circuit boxes, don't, all kinds of stuff. You need these if you're not used to electricity. The first time I taught it, I had a lot of kids who burned their fingers. I didn't know. I didn't know. Now you
No
have...
touching the battery with your tongue, you know, when we were
Well,
kids.
because haven't you seen your grandpa or your grandma? A ver si está bueno and they spit on their tongue and you're like, oh, you're not supposed to do that? No, you're not supposed to do that. So on this, when you're looking at the lesson, here, again, this is for the teacher. Here are the materials you need. Remember, this is a PDF. It's on there so they could see the parts of the atom. So if it says PDF, it's in that file of resources. It says what an atom is. It'll show them a picture. Hula hoops, at least 5. You can find something else if you don't have hula hoops. They're grouping. They're grouping. So as you read this, you'll see, oh, they're not going to go and dance with it. They're going to manipulate it so they can use something else. And then just different colors, balls, they're going to be bouncing and weighing them. So you can find something that they can use for that. But it goes over the procedure. Again, this is just for the teacher. Here's notes. Step 1, explain to the students that they're going to build an atom. Then step 2, pick 4 students. 3, help the other students group to make, their groups of 4. See, and you've got that nice chart. You will have that nice chart, groups of 4. Then when the students how to make it easier, show the students the atom PDF. Oh, that's when I'm going to use it. So it doesn't just give you a list, it tells you when to use it. Okay, then the next one, again, this is still for the teacher. This is all the TE part of it. And now you're on the second part of it, where now we need to have page 11. Where's page 11? So I'm going to go in, and this is the handbook. Look, page 11. This is what the students get to see. You do not have to run a copy for them. But this is what the students have. And how many of you have the kits? She said everybody bought 1 or 2 or 3 years ago. Right. And that's why it's legal to have it this way. Okay? So we're not breaking the law. And then here's page 12. Now they're reading. And we can break this up like a close read. The first time we're going to read for details. We're going to read for vocabulary. That's our first read. Again, if you want to use this for your fluency, you just count the words. And that in itself is a good practice. We're going to be using this for fluency, boys and girls. So let's count how many words there are and write that on the end. Everybody can have 25? Junior, you have 30? No, look, let's count again. There's 25. So they can run the whole paragraph. And for fluency, boys and girls, we're just going to go over the first paragraph and you read again and again and again. Doesn't have to be the whole passage, look. So here's the whole thing. So take the 3 reads and use it with this, the close reading, the details, the structure. How is this formed? Do you see anything that has to do with facts, opinion? Use the same questions that Hopie just told you about. What's this about? Where does this happen? Same when you're reading, so that they can see there's a connection from reading to what we're going to do with writing. And this takes a while. It looks like, oh, that's all we're doing. It's going to take them a little bit of time. And I think we're only allowed, 55 minutes from the questioning to the experiment to the reading. It probably will take a little longer than that, and that's okay. Just because it has here that the next day you're in lesson 2 or part 1 of 2, you go as fast as you can, but as slowly as you must for your kids. Because it's not a matter of check, check, check. I did 25 experiments. You only did 5. What's wrong with you? It's, can they, at the end of this, get this information to write? We're taking it to writing. Okay, so I'm going back to this. So TE 38, and what do the students need? It tells you right on that page 38 what they need. They need page 11. Books on electricity and atoms. You can get the internet if you're hooked up to it, or you don't need it. It's just to give you more background information. Again, it says optional. Clay if you want to instead of the little balls, because they're going to be making atoms now. The balls, do you understand how they have the hula hoops now? Why the atoms? So do you really need to go buy hula hoops? No. Pipe cleaners, glue. You can get toothpicks, and you can have sugar cubes. but that's cheaper than the clay. And you can make atoms. So be creative. I have teachers who, some of them will say internet, well, my computer's down today, so I can't teach. What do you want me to do? I kid you not. Somebody told me that. We're going to go outside and play because the internet's not working. Are you really serious? So have them get that idea of, okay, if this isn't available, the bottom line is, I'm making an atom. Could you just draw it? Then just draw it. We don't have toothpicks, we don't have sugar cubes, we don't have clay, just draw it, label it. Because you're going to use that information, that experience, to write. Make a little more sense? And it can be fun. Some of them, I just did what I was told. Some of them I wouldn't, I'd skip. But it's not bad. I mean, and even attracting the worksheet, do you have to have this worksheet?
It's a flow map. That's
It's a flow
what
map.
we're using over there.
That's what you're using, right. So that, like I said, that's the structure of the lesson. Now you're on to, what is electricity? Here's the vocabulary. Do you have to do this? No. Why don't we take the vocabulary, show them the definition, now you write it in your own words and make a foldable for it. Or make little cards. So there are options. I hesitated putting all of these on there just because you're going to have somebody saying, I need all 580 pages. No, you don't. No, you don't. Yes, so that way you could say, you know what, let me show you how you can do this without killing trees.
And Teresa and I are going to be available too this summer to come to your school. So that's something that we're going to be working on too. So if you need help, if you are stuck on something, we're going to be more than happy to come and help you. If you have somebody, resource teachers, that feels like they need to do all 500, then
yeah, we'll show them how they don't have to.
Yeah.
But I mean, look at this.
Or at least try to convince them that they don't have to anyway.
Yeah.
But
again,
anyway.
here's your journal entry, and this is what Hopie was saying again. What questions do you still have? Write a question. Now draw and illustrate. Same thing she just said. So all of that is building the background they need for writing. You don't have to even run off anything, not even the test for electricity. Just show it to them and have them write A, B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then here's the assessment just for that lesson. This could be your...
It's a lot of assessing if
you
you do all of those assessments.
There's-
You're assessing all the time.
all the time.
And that's why she said you don't have to do these, because
Yeah.
you have a pre and a post. That's all you're responsible for.
Right, and we had talked about not even including them in the little drive, but since some people have the box, they're going to say, what happened? You didn't give us everything. ¿Qué pasó? You know, why? So here it is. But use it as a ticket out the door. Use it as a, find the answer somewhere on in the paragraph. That's part of close reading.
Or even like say, I have these days where, gosh, I can't think. I'm brain dead, sometimes. What questions can I ask? Well, look at the assessment. Those are some questions. There's some questioning for you. And so then you don't have to necessarily think if you don't, if you're having a bad day. Things happen,
Yeah,
where
things happen.
where you need all of these resources and
Yeah.
you can't necessarily come up with the right word or the right.
And I think we have to
question.
remember the whole purpose is, can they take information? Can they comprehend it and write about it? Informational text. That's the goal, not that they're going to be electricians after the end of these lessons. It's not going to happen. But can they take informational text, understand it, play with it enough to write about? That's the purpose. So going back to what the purpose is. Okay, so Hopie's going to take you through that electricity passage, not the leveled one. This is the one that's about 6th grade. And
Yeah,
go
this is a
through-
higher level one.
Right, so again, they're going to work with their grade level or as a read aloud if it's 2nd grade, or if you want 1st grade to do this. it'll
Here's
be a
your
read aloud.
graphic
want me to hold
organizer, okay? And this is just you can do it this way or you can do it as a foldable, okay? Where you fold the paper like this. Remember the shutter I showed you? Or you can use this. Whatever you want to use, you have choices. So the
Do you want
passage.
paper? You want- do they
No,
want-
that's good. I'm just going to do it on there so they could see. So what is electricity? Zap, it's electricity. Electricity is a form of energy. It's everywhere. Electricity lights up our homes. Electricity helps us cook our food. It even powers our computer and television sets. Electricity starts with atoms. Everything in the universe is made of atoms. Atoms are tiny particles. Millions of atoms would fit on the head of a pin. You cannot see an atom with your eyes or even with the microscope. Scientists have to use computers to see and study the shapes of atoms. By this time, you will have already read the passage. You might have even made a picture of what an atom is. So they are very familiar with an atom because that's what you were doing when you were reading. If you're not there, this is the time to pull up that little picture of what an atom looks like. Okay? So you can do that. So far, right now, if during reading you didn't underline keywords, if I'm underlining, what are some things that I can underline that are important to this text? I already wrote on the top, what is electricity? What's the first thing? Remember the questions? What, where, when, how, why, right? Okay, so in this, it's already, because this is a 6th grade level, this has a lot of information, this passage. So what is one of the main ideas? What is one of the main ideas, main facts in this, just the first paragraph?
And then I would go ahead and say, shoulder partner, A, talk to B.
Yes.
B, talk to K. What is this article
shoulder
about?
partner,
Remember
let's do that right now. Shoulder partners, talk
Well,
to
and
your
I took away
partners,
their
to your
charts.
groups. What is, just looking at this, what is something that we might underline as our key words or facts?
And remember, you're answering in a complete sentence.
Complete
so a key word
sentences.
might be,
Okay, and then you can call on groups. I like to call on groups. I'm going to say, this is what I tell my class. I'm going to call on your group. I'm going to pull a stick. If that person is in your group, they have to respond. Okay, so in other words, inform everybody in your group.
Right.
Because you have some kids that are high and you have kids that are low in that group. And who are the people that respond all the time? Your high students. But if I call on the lower student, that lower student should be able to respond because of the conversation they had.
right.
Okay? And so I always tell my kids that everybody has to be able to respond. Okay, so, and if they can't, if I call on that student and they can't, then I put them back in groups. They don't know. You need to go back, you need to tell them again. So now everybody's talking to this student and telling them, giving them information. So then that person can answer, okay? All right, so what is the main facts, the main idea on the first paragraph? This group. What was one of the main ideas? Main facts. It's a form of energy, okay? So what am I going to write on the first one? I'm just going to write form of energy. Okay? Is there another key fact on the first one? Atoms. It talks about atoms, okay? So, then you're going to write, and I'm just kind of writing what the students tell me. Okay, is there anything else in there? Okay, so then we're going to move to the next passage. Okay? Every atom contains particles. The particles of an atom are protons, neutrons, and electrons. Protons and neutrons are found in the center of an atom. The center of an atom is called the nucleus. Electrons move in paths around the nucleus. Electrons are much smaller than protons and neutrons. That paragraph, we're going to go through and we're going to underline keywords. What is important in that paragraph? What is the key, most important information?
And again, tell your partner,
Okay,
complete
talk
sentence.
to your partner again. Okay,
Answer
now
in a
we're going
complete
to...
sentence.
Okay, so we have atoms again, right? Okay, but so I already have one that says atoms, so I'm going to add to that one. What was something that I could add? What is something? Particles. What else? Protons. Neutrons. Electrons. and the nucleus. Okay? I'm going to go on to the next one. Okay? And now we're going to read the next paragraph. Protons have a positive charge, electrons have a negative charge. Neutrons carry no charge. Opposite charges attract each other, so protons and electrons are attracted to each other. That means that they are pulled towards each other. What is it talking about here, the main idea now? Charges. Is that another one? Okay? Charges. And what kind of charges? Positive and negative. Okay? Remember that when you are writing in these keywords, okay? Because if they start writing sentences on there, they will get lost in the sentence. They'll start writing the sentences and then they'll self-correct and it gets really messy.
Flow.
It gets really messy. Mm-hmm.
I have a question. So you're modeling this with the class, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so
The first week,
the first week.
that's what I'm doing.
Maybe some of the higher grades also be kind of copying along, or you.
I don't like to have students copy along, and I'm going to tell you why I don't do that. It breaks the concentration, okay? With brain research, the concentration, the brain is a pattern detector, and when you have that concentration broken, you're trying to have them do two things here. You're trying to have them comprehend and extract information when you're just modeling it for the first time, and you're having them copy at the same time, so they're going to lose some of that information. Okay, and that's why it's a cycle, and that's why the first day you model, the second day, you do the reverse writing. This is the reverse writing. I'm not even modeling writing yet. This is reverse mapping. Okay, just comprehending and taking the information off of the article so that they have that. Okay.
See how this all flows with close reading, because now there's another purpose for reading. So it all involves informational text.
Does this make sense? Does this help you? Okay, so this is the mapping section. We would continue with the article, and I'm going to continue. If I need more in the upper grades, if you need more than 3, this is why I don't like copied papers, okay? Because if I need more than 3, guess what? I'm stuck with 3, okay? Can you have 4 or 5 here in the middle? Absolutely, okay? And you're going to with these more meatier passages, okay? So then I'm going to continue, and then I'm going to come up with my conclusion. And how did I come up with my conclusion? I'm going to have my students talk. And I'm going to say, based on what we read on this information, talk to your partner, and how can we conclude? That means that how can we finish this article? What is it? Remember, we did it here together, okay? So how would we do that? And it doesn't mean take the conclusion from here and put it on there. It doesn't necessarily. It's what was our conclusion, okay? All right, and then, okay, this is the reverse map. So the next day you're going to come back. You're going to do the same thing. What is electricity? We have these as our categories, so you can keep them there. Now I want you to go back. You're going to do your own writing. Now I want you to find race, which means I want you to read the question, what is electricity? And answer the question, here are the different things about electricity. And now you're going to cite evidence from the text. Where does it talk about it's a form of energy? So you're going to say, according to the article on the first paragraph, it states that, and you can quote. Okay? On the second paragraph, it states, or you can use an example of this is, okay? And this is where the students now are writing, okay? And then they take it to the draft, the editing, and the publishing. You see how it kind of flows? It all goes together. If we take this information, say we quote it, okay, here on the first paragraph, okay, and that's our race, okay? And then this is on, we can say, let's see, in an atom, the electrons circle around the nucleus. They have their own path or orbit that they follow. The electrons, okay, so then I can talk about, okay, so where is it talking about the atom? I think I went, I need to go up. Huh?
Oh,
The second paragraph, I'm beyond that. Let's go up. Oh, there it is. Okay. So every atom contains particles. The particle of an atom are protons, neutrons, and electrons. So maybe on this, I'm going to say that here, okay? In the second paragraph, the author states, okay? The second paragraph, the author states, and quote, and you're going to teach them how to quote, that the particles of an atom are protons, neutrons, and electrons, okay? I'm going to move on to number 3, where it talks about charges. Protons have a positive charge, electrons have a negative charge, neutrons carry no charge. Opposite charges attract each other. Okay, that one would probably be a good one for them to recite. So now I'm going to talk about in the third paragraph. Okay, and so I'm going to say, I don't want to use the same one. I want to use another one, right? I want to use on page, or you could say paragraph 3, it said, and then open quote, neutrons carry, opposite charges attract each other. Okay? And so now you're going to take it there. And then so when you take it off of the paper to write it all out, you're going to write down, okay, so you're going to start here. And so the question that you're answering is, what is electricity? What's our topic? Remember you're answering sorry, Teresa, I'm pushing back on you. Electricity. Did I spell it right, guys? Because it doesn't look right to me here. Okay, what is electricity? Okay, so I'm answering the question. What are the questions I'm trying to answer with the information that I have so far? What, when, where, how, and why, right? So what am I talking about right now? What is my topic? Electricity. And what is electricity? Okay, electricity what is it? Is a form or a type of energy. Okay? What are we talking about here? Are we talking about components of electricity? What makes it up? Or are we talking about types of electricity? What are we talking about? What makes electricity? So we're talking about the components. Okay, so can we say electricity has various components? Okay, and these are the questions you're asking your students. Okay, electricity has various or different or many components. Okay, now I'm going to talk about the first one.
When you ask those questions, it's so good that you're doing that and that the teachers also do it, because it'll put that like pattern in the student's mind.
Mm-hmm.
So when they have to do it, they
And
know
that's
when
why,
you ask this question,
and that's why you're doing
that.
think alouds when you're
Right,
modeling.
right.
That is why it's so important. What is
Right.
electricity? Let me see. You know what? When I read about electricity, the author said that electricity is a form of energy. Does that mean there's other types of electricity? You know, so these are think alouds that you're doing to model to them exactly so that when they're doing the writing, they know exactly what to do. Okay, so what's the first thing
Question.
we're going to talk about with
Yes.
electricity?
Question.
Question.
I was just going to mention, and I'm a big culture person too, so how do you questions up for them to refer to, especially
Right.
if they're not used to talk?
Right.
This is the first thing I would do. You need to tell them what it is. What's informational writing? What are the components of informational writing so that they know where they're going? Okay? Now that they know what informational writing is, now you need to tell them, well, what do I need? What am I expecting to see in your writing? Okay, this is what I'm expecting to see in your writing. So how are you going to get there? You're going to look at a good modeled writing, a good article, and we're going to take that information and we're going to reverse map it so that you can see how it's done. And then we're going to turn around and take that information and we're going to write our information about it and use evidence from the text.
And after she's modeled this the first time, the second time maybe they can make a foldable, and as they're reading, oh, I'm going to just bullet point all of this for the second time, not the first time because they don't know the process yet. So that when it's time to write, here I have it all.
You
It's
have
organized.
it all there
Right.
for you. I love foldables.
Oh, they're great.
And Teresa and I are both not fans of all of the questioning up there. And we were talking the other day, if we had to do a scripted program, we'd probably fail big time because we would be talking about something completely different. But posters everywhere. And you know what I use? I use colored butcher paper. And I just roll a bunch of colors, and I have them in my room, and I pull them out as I need them. And I do everything. Well, our district is big on thinking maps, tree map, categorizing, flow map, and that's all I use in my classroom. I don't even have any more store-bought charts because they don't really, the kids don't pay attention to them that much. So I create everything as we go. So then from here, you're going to go into your first paragraph. We just created our topic sentences, okay? And then you're going to go into your first paragraph. The first paragraph we talked about, what was it? Form of electricity. Okay, electricity it's a form of electricity, okay? So, and it was on the first paragraph, okay? So the first thing you can say, and here you can use a transition word. And I gave you a list of transition words on your thing. So you can use a transition word here. You can even use the space if you want to. We don't always know when we start writing what transition word we're going to want, okay? We could put it in our flow map if we want to, up here to start it. But sometimes what I found that when the kids do that and they just randomly pick them, then they don't really go with the writing. So transition words, oftentimes I've learned, I leave a space, and then I can come back and fill it in. I know that line right there, I have to fill it in, okay? And I know that after I have a transition word, I need a what? A comma, okay? So I'm going to say, one of the ones that I said, okay, electricity what was it? What was the one that we said? Electricity is?
A form of energy.
It's a form of energy, okay. So what form is it? In paragraph 1, what is it talking about? Read paragraph 1. Because the evidence is in paragraph 1, that's what we said. So what could we say? Look at paragraph 1. It's a form of energy. It is everywhere. Electricity lights up our homes. Electricity helps us cook our food. It even powers our computers and television sets. Electricity starts with atoms. Okay? So, electricity starts with atoms. The author states this in the first paragraph of, and you can say the title, Zap, It's Electricity. Okay? It further states, and this you can just summarize. So you can teach kids how to directly quote and then how to summarize. It further states that we use electricity in our everyday life. Okay, this is kind of a summary. Or in our everyday living, because it talks about computers, televisions, cooking food, okay? Or if, for instance, in our everyday lives, period. Okay, that's not a direct quote, so I'm not quoting that, but that's kind of a summary, okay? An example, okay, they can use an example from here. They already have a quote, or they can use one of their own examples, because you don't want everything to be a quote. An example is when I blow dry my hair in the morning. I'm using electricity. Okay? So you have that on there. And then you go on to the second one, the same way. Okay? And you're showing the students not only to cite, but to back it up. Okay? Back it up with what you do. If an atom, a positive, negative charge, okay, now how does that connect? What examples can I find? And connect it to every day. Why are we learning about electricity? Why is that important? Who cares? Do I need it to know about it in my everyday life? What do I do every day that uses electricity? Electricity starts with atoms. The author states this in the first paragraph of ZAP, it's electricity, okay, or in the article. It further states that we use electricity in our everyday lives. An example is when we blow dry our hairs in the morning. Do we have to use a transition? We don't always have to use a transition, huh? Okay, that's another reason why I don't write them in advance. You don't always have to use a transition. It's okay if you don't use a transition word. You can. But you know what? This is my draft. I don't want to use a transition word right now because it doesn't really fit. Can I exit out? Okay. And that's the beauty about drafts. You can do whatever, you know, and move things around and whatever you have to do. Okay? And then maybe the next one, I'm going to leave the same thing on the next paragraph. I'm going to leave it blank. But if it doesn't fit, I'm not going to force it. Okay? But you will have a list of them. And I always have one that is ongoing also on chart paper. These are some transition words. Transition words that fit with narrative writing don't always fit with informational text. Mm-hmm. With narrative writing, you need transition words to move the story. Okay? In informational text, you're learning facts. You don't necessarily always need a transition word. Okay? So it just depends what you're doing. Okay? So, but I leave it there because I want to have that available. Do I need it? And they'll put something in there. They'll put also. You know, and then so you need to have this conversation with them. You don't have to have one. And also wouldn't fit there. Okay? All right. Does that clarify, or do we need more clarification? We need to do another lesson? No. Teresa and I love to do this. We can do it all night. There's food, and we'll make coffee. No?
You can stay here. I'm going home.
I said Teresa and I. You're my partner.
I think it's time to
Okay,
go.
yeah. Okay, well, if you have no further questions, we will be available this summer too. We don't know where yet or what our schedule is, but I know we will be available, so we'll be out and just kind of popping in, and you guys have questions. We are not police. We don't go to the classrooms and then go, oh my gosh, did you see how, I'm going to pick on Mary Lou because I know Mary Lou. Did you see Mary Lou? She did not have this. No, we are there to support, okay? Right. That's why neither Teresa or I want to be administrators, okay? We are there to support you, okay? Not to tattle on you. So do use us, okay? All right, we'll have a fabulous evening, rest of the evening.